when you're getting rich in a free market, you're getting rich by enriching everybody else. So all the boats rise together. The government has basically prevented that from happening. So you have some boats rising while other boats are sinking. Capitalism doesn't do that. Government does that.
Why do we see this wealth inequality growing as the result of what government is actually doing?
Yeah, well, first of all, around the time of the income tax, we had a populist movement in the US. And, there were a lot of wealthy people back then. They call them the robber barons, Rockefellers, Carnegies, Mellons, people that became really rich, but not because of the Federal Reserve and because of a bubble, because they created enormously valuable companies that lifted the standard of living of the vast majority of Americans. But they deservedly got rich in the process without any help from government. But there was a movement to tax them more heavily. But the idea was that, hey, if we can make the billionaires pay more, the rest of us can pay less. So the trade-off was, let's have this tax that the billionaires will pay, an income tax, and we can get rid of the tariffs that everybody else is paying. And that was the impetus to amend the Constitution to make that income tax possible, because it wasn't possible based on the original Constitution. They had to change it to give the government new taxing powers to make it possible. But of course, if you look at the original tax rate, it was, I think, 4% or something like that on the super rich. Well, now middle-class Americans are paying 30, 40% in income taxes. I mean, nobody would have agreed to the tax if it was that high on the billionaires. But of course, it's backfired because now average people are paying income tax rates far in excess of anything contemplated for the billionaires. So that's the problem with the efforts today, where the government say, hey, let's have some new tax that's aimed at the billionaires. Well, pretty soon they're going to refocus on middle-class Americans. Whenever the government gets a new taxing power, they always get it under the guise that, oh, it's just for the rich. That way everybody won't oppose it. But the minute the government has the new power, it just doesn't, it's not limited to the rich. They could use it however they want. And ultimately they can't get enough money from the billionaires. So they go to the average guys because there's a lot more middle-class people to tax. But as far as inequality is concerned, look, there's always going to be inequality. Even in socialism, there's inequality. You have a few people that are rich and everybody else is broke. And the people who are rich are the people that are in government and they have connections and they have power because they know the right people. But under capitalism, we're all not going to be equal because we're all not equal in our abilities, in our contributions, in our intelligence, in our drive. So people are going to have unequal efforts, unequal outcomes. And so obviously there's going to be wealth inequality. I mean, you want that. I mean, that's desirable. It's so like if think about it, if you were, you're a kid in school, what if everybody just got an A or everybody got a B? Everybody got the same grade, right? No matter how well you did on your exams, whether you did your homework or not, we had grade equality. So everybody got the same grade. Would anybody learn anything in school? No, why study? You're not going to get any better grade than the guy that doesn't study at all. But nobody would say, hey, it's not fair. We have this grade inequality. We have some guys that did all their homework and studied hard and they got A's. And here's some people that just, cut class and, smoked a lot of pot or, did, whatever. And they got C's and D's. There's inequality here. That's not fair. Of course, well, you get what you deserve. And in capitalism, you get what you deserve. You start a business, you invent a better mousetrap, right? You come up with a product that people want to buy. It improves their lives. Otherwise, they wouldn't buy it. The product is better than somebody else's. Either it's cheaper or it has more features. And in the process, you create a lot of jobs and you hire a lot of people. You get rich, right? Well, I mean, you can have another person that doesn't do anything, just, sleeps late at night, lives with his parents, doesn't do anything, doesn't create anything, doesn't produce anything, doesn't hire anybody. I mean, so, all right, the guy's, he doesn't have much money, but that's fair. What's not fair is when the guy that does nothing says, hey, I deserve more. Let's tax the guy that did all this stuff, that made all these contributions, because I want some of what he created. Because, I think that's fair, that I could just do nothing and live off the fruits of somebody else. But we have extreme income inequality now. That's not a byproduct of capitalism. What's going on now is the Federal Reserve, which is not a capitalist institution, has got interest rates artificially low so that people that have a lot of assets can now borrow money really cheap and buy more assets. And now all those asset values become inflated by the artificially low interest rates. So now the people who are just sitting on assets and doing nothing become really, really rich simply because they're sitting on appreciating assets that are only appreciating because of the artificial manipulation of interest rates. And now instead of selling those assets, they just borrow against them. They never have to pay the money back because the assets never stop going up. And they're living off of the inflation and the cheap money. At the same time, the inflation is destroying the value of average people's wages and savings. And so now you have government coming in and exacerbating income inequality and taking it to a level that is problematic.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.